Hi, it's Penny here, and today I wanted to talk about my reading goals for 2023. I know it is the end of January, start of February, probably by the time I get this video up, but usually here in New Zealand, January is summer, and I don't really start getting into 2023 until February, so we're doing it now. I think sometimes you need a month to recover from the year, right? It's not just me. Anyway, I wanted to go through my reading goals for the year. I have 7 goals, which is the same number of goals as I had last year, and honestly, a lot of the goals are the same. Partly because I didn't do very well at my goals last year, but that is because I was working a lot last year. Sometimes it was very stressful. This year, I'm not working. Things should be less stressful, even though I'm kind of planning to move down the country, which might add some stress into things, but regardless, I still think it'll be less stressful than working. So I think we can do these goals. Let's talk about them. My first goal, as always, is about how many books I want to read. I always set this to 100 books because I think it's very reasonable for me to try and read 1 physical book and 1 audiobook every week. And that gets us about 100 books with a little bit of wriggle room. Secretly, underneath that 100 goal, I have a stretch goal of 150 because that is about how many books I've been reading every year. But if I don't make it to that amount, I'm not going to be sad. Maybe I'll be secretly sad. But I can convince myself to be happy with 100 books. So 100 books is the goal. Then my second reading goal is TBR 0. I've been talking about this for a while. Specifically, what I mean when I say TBR 0 is all my non-series books because I'm dealing with series 0 in a whole different way. So at the start of 2022, I had 6 books left on my TBR. Unfortunately, start of 2023, I think I have 16. You know, I don't have that number easily accessible and I only just calculated it before, but I've kind of forgotten. But something like that. Maybe I'll put the actual number here. Editing me will do a much better job of this. So I've got a few to read and I did go backwards in 2022, but I think I can do it in 2023 for a few reasons. Firstly, I'm probably not going to buy any books in 2023 because we are planning to move about 6 hours drive away, and so I want to be minimizing the amount of books I have to move. I already have quite a lot of books to move, so we don't need to buy any more. Also, I already have enough books to read, so that's not really a problem. I do think that if I actually get to TBR 0, we will have a problem because I like the concept of TBR 0, but I don't like the idea of not having any books to read when I want a book to read. I like the idea of reading books not that long after I get them, but I don't even want to have no books. So, I don't know, we'll work that out. We're still very far away from TBR 0. I've got plenty of books to read this year. So I would like to get to TBR 0, but I don't think once I get there that that's a state I'd probably maintain. But it's an achievement I'd like to make. And then ongoing, I'd like to kind of keep it so that I'm always reading books within a year of when I buy them. That's the plan. But for this year, I've got about 16 books on my TBR shelves that I need to get through to call this goal a win. Then my third goal is series 0. So for this, I want to catch up on all the series that I have in progress. So currently I have 17 series that I have in progress. And to catch up on all those series, I'd have to read around 48 books. Last year, that was about 111. Now it's 48, so I definitely made progress. And I do think I could get this down to 0 by the end of the year. Like last year I set this goal and I didn't think it was achievable. This year I think I can do it. Except one exception is on the list of series is the Stormlight Archives by Brandon Sanderson. I've decided to do like a whole reread of The Cosmere by Brandon Sanderson, and that'll work out better because then the next Stormlight Archive book will come out and I'll have just read it and everything will be perfect, maybe. So I'm planning not to catch up on that series, but I think I can catch up on the rest. And I'll do some more videos like next week or the week after where I go through the series that I've got in progress in a bit more detail. Oh, and as well, my plan is any new releases that come out through the year, I'm going to read them straight away so I don't get more behind. I kind of did that last year, so I think I can manage to keep doing that. Just looking at my notes, my one other strategy for series 0 is that I'm going to try and complete 1 series every month, at least 1 series every month. I think this is totally doable because I have about 8 series on that list where I only need to read 1 more book. And as well, like 4 where I only have to read 2 books. And then for most of the other ones where there are multiple books in the series still to read, I have a plan for most of those. So I really do think series 0 this year is totally achievable. Then my 4th reading goal for the year is my good old diversity pipeline. I know last year I really focused on series and I knew that was going to mean that I was reading less diversely because a lot of the series on my list are by white males. And I was right. I did really badly. I am going to try and do better this year, but I think the trick is to really work on finding books by more diverse authors, because I really want to read diversely. I love reading from different people's perspectives and learning new ideas, but it's really easy to just fall into reading all the same books all the time by the same authors. So if I want to read diversely, I think I really need to put effort into following people who read diversely, finding publishers that publish more diversely, and just like putting the time aside to look at what's out there and what's available. Now, admittedly, 2022, I was stressed at work. I didn't have the time for it. 2023, I'm probably not going to have that excuse. I'm really hoping it's not going to be a stressful year. So we should have more time to work on this diversity pipeline. I know that in 2021, I really worked on finding sources of Maori authored books. And then in 2022, I was able to read a good amount of those without even trying. So that's what I want to do for other kinds of diversity. Not just race, but other things. It is sometimes hard because it does feel a bit intrusive digging into authors to see whether they are diverse. But still, I'd like to make some effort. And I think I'd really like to try to get to less than 70% white or European authors. I don't know if I'll achieve that because it's just really hard. There's so many being published and so many being talked about. But I know in New Zealand, at least, I think the percentage of white or European people is 60%. So that's what I'm aiming for. I'm sure the amount of white authors being published is much higher in terms of percentage, but I'm going to try. Then my next 3 goals are not so much about what I'm reading, but how I'm reading. Firstly, goal number 5 is to reset my rating system. I feel like when I rate books, I'm very inconsistent, even though I tried to have different criteria that I rate against, kind of like Bookrist core pile system, and then average that out. But I still feel like how I rate books is very different. Like a 4 is sometimes really amazing, sometimes not that great, sometimes I'm more lenient, sometimes I'm very strict, and I just don't know that it's very consistent. So I have a plan about how to make things more consistent. Probably make another video about that once I've had a bit more of a chance to think about it. Then my last 2 are goals I had from last year that I really failed at, but I really want to try. I really want to try to do better. So goal number 6 is that reading before bed. I know that if I read before bed, I sleep a million times better, I feel a million times better. It's just a good time all round. I get heaps more reading done. Why wouldn't I read before bed? Well, because I end up staying up too late because I'm mucking around and life. So I need to get my shit sorted. As well, I think what I need to do is set up some kind of tracking system so I can see how well I'm doing at this. And in the morning, I need to record whether I've read the night before. And I don't know, like previously I've said I wanted to read an hour before bed. I think maybe that's a bit optimistic. I'm just going to go with in the morning, do I feel like I read enough before bed to be satisfied with that amount? And at the end of the year, I can maybe look at when I was managing to do this throughout the year, what was it that was helping me do it? And did it actually have that positive impact on my mental health and my sleep that I was hoping it would? And then my last reading goal, the 7th one for 2023, is that I want to keep doing my audiobook walking. I really love going for a walk every day and listening to my audiobook. Again, I think it's really good for my mental health as well as my physical health, just to get that fresh air and go out for a walk and like clear my mind with a nice story. And I did do this to some degree last year, but I didn't track whether I was doing it or not. So I need to set up a tracking system to know whether I'm doing it. And then we can look at whether it was actually having the positive effects that I was hoping it would. I think as well, I'm going to just track how many hours of audiobooks I'm reading. I always track this, but I think my goal is to read 1,200 hours of audiobook. That's 100 hours a month, and maybe a stretch goal of 1,500 audiobook hours in a year. Based on my previous years, I think that's a good target, and it would mean that I'm going for enough walks and like giving myself that mental break. Of course, at the moment, the weather is absolutely awful, which is really not helping with any kind of go outside and walk kind of goal because it's flooding. We're not going outside right now, but maybe the weather will cut me a break and improve. Anyway, those are my reading goals for 2023. How do you think I'm going to do? Also, let me know what your reading goals are for the year. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.